Hey everybody, we're Steve and Audra.
Over the last 2.5 years, we've been converting this 2019 high roof Ford Transit into a camper van. And throughout the whole process, we've been debating whether or not to do anything with the back doors. I wanted to cover them to make them look a little better.
And I'm going to plead the fifth.
Guess what we're doing today?
So follow along and see how we tackle this project. Alright, so the first thing we needed to do is install plusnuts. If you're not familiar with how we installed plusnuts, you can check out one of our later videos. Maybe we'll insert a little bit of footage right here. We marked where our shelf will fall, the shelf right here. So we know that we need to go above that line, and we really didn't, throughout the whole build process, we want to try to avoid putting extra holes in the van. So just utilize these little slits that are naturally from the factory. To get the plus nut to fit in, simply drill out a little bit, not much, to get the plus nut to fit in, and then you simply bolt it down. So we used wood that we had around the house and measured and cut and drilled the holes for where the plus nuts will fall. So the bolts will go in like this. Got all of our different pieces cut, ready to go. So the next thing we're going to do is simply install these pieces. I'm going to call them nailers. I believe that's kind of the official term.
Alright, so basically these pieces are going to be the foundation for the final finishing pieces, which we're hoping will be pallet wood. We have to go find some, but because we use that already in the rest of the van and it's no cost, that's what we want to do. Alright, so that finishes this door now. And next we gotta go on the hunt for pallet wood. Good morning, you guys. We like to be resourceful and keep costs down and repurpose materials, especially when we're working on our van build. So this morning we are going in search of some pallet wood to finish off the back doors of the van. Hopefully we can find some. Are they gone now? Oh gosh. Shoot. So over the weekend we had driven by this place. It's a condo that they're working on, and there had been some skids out, but it was blocked off, and we wanted to stop in when there were people actually here, the guys working on the area. Now we pull in and we don't see the pallet wood anymore. So that's a bummer.
Maybe it's in the dumpster yet.
Maybe. So that's a bit of a bummer. You would think it'd be easy to find skids, but we have been driving all over lately. We've checked at grocery stores and any places we can think of. Seems like a lot of places.
There's some. There they are.
Oh.
We're in the wrong spot.
I was just saying though that it seems like a lot of places have started to reuse them, which is a good thing. But so here we go. We'll see if we can get these. Okay, so there's a guy here that was just in the truck. It's a sheet metal truck, but I asked him and he said it was fine to take some. So I say let's do it. So some of this is way too thick, but like this one I think is perfect. What do you think? Looks like this wood could work, right?
Yep.
It's not too thick. Think we'll grab 2 more pieces. All right, well that should be plenty. So I'm super excited that we just found that.
So Audra marked all the pieces she thinks we're going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and try my best to take it off the skids without damaging it too much.
So when we brought the pallet wood home, I carefully looked through everything and marked what I thought were the best pieces, and then Steve has prepped them. He sanded them all down. We've worked on a few different projects in the van now with pallet wood, on our walls in a couple places, and we use fence wood, which is similar, on the ceiling. One of the challenges with this kind of material is that a lot of times each piece is not exactly the same. They have different widths and sometimes even different thicknesses. So what I did is I went through the pieces and I measured them all and I laid them all out and started doing some charts and diagrams. A lot of chicken scratch here. So I made these diagrams, all this chicken scratch, after measuring all the pieces to make sure we had everything we needed to work with. And basically what I do is for each door on both sides, I make sure that I have pieces that are going to be the same height, so they mirror each other and work well, so we don't have it all caterwonky. So I label, just like we did with our flooring, I label the pieces, and then I figure out, like, once we trim piece 1, we can use that again down here. So I make sure that we have enough to do everything we need to do. So next, we're gonna do a little bit of testing this out, laying them out up there, making sure it's all gonna work. So the next thing I wanna do is decide, we're gonna put the pallet wood over this, and I wanna decide how far it's gonna hang over. We need to find a balance between covering the white part of the van and also not coming out too far that we can't get our window covers out. And by the way, these are window covers that I made. They're no-sew, and I have a video about it if you wanna check it out and see how I made them. So I'm gonna take these down now. And what I want to do, I was thinking I want the wood to come out so it overlaps, but I want to look on the other side to see what you can see through the window, if it looks good or not. So let's do that now. So just to clarify, we're not going to do these pieces up and down. We're going to do pieces side to side, but I'm just trying to get an idea of how the overlook's going to look, so we know how long to cut our pieces. So we talked about the plans a little bit. We think we want to have these pieces overhang the nailers. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to cut them at the max length that we know is an option, and then we can decide later if we want to trim them down or not. I think what we're going to do is cut them, do a dry fit, see how it all works, trim if we need to, and then paint them later. So I'm going to get started. I know the first piece we need is 4 inches, so I'll mark that, and we'll start cutting. Alright, first piece up.
Our neighbor's getting their septic pump. Can you smell it?
Alright, so I'm not sure if you can hear me because we have a lot of noise in the background, but we're using this mirror because we've drawn a line to see how we want the piece to line up, and Steve's checking it so we don't have to go back and forth on the other side of the door and back. Thought that was pretty smart.
Looks pretty good.
Alright, so this is basically where we run into some trouble, which Steve anticipated, because the Ford Transit doors curve out at the top. So right now, there's a big gap between the nailer and the wood, and it's kind of funny here how this all comes together. So the first thing is, I think, a trace here where we need to cut the contour, but this is okay here. This matches up. So is it more... Do we need to just cheat this out a little bit?
If you cheat that out, you have to cheat them all out. They won't sit flush.
Alright, so we just trimmed the edge of the top piece here, and Steve's going to put it up. Alright, let's see how this is looking. As you can see here, since we've been working on this earlier, Steve has added a spacer. Seems to be working pretty well. Alright, so we made a lot of progress yesterday until it started to rain. As you can see, we got the wood up for almost all of this. We're back at it again today. The weather's not looking so promising, so we're going to see what we can accomplish before it rains again. I think the next step is going to be doing a little template piece up here for the top with cardboard, so then it'll be easier to know how we need to cut out the wood. So we'll get to it now. I have no idea how to figure out this edge, since I can't see. Alright, so this feels like a little bit of a crapshoot, but by closing the door, I think I'll be able to trace a little bit. I can't close it completely, but I can trace a little bit where the edging is here. And that'll give us a starting point at least. Okay, so here's my perfectly scientific line. Look at these awesome pair of scissors. Not sure why we still have these. Beautiful. Alright, how's it look from back there?
Pretty good.
Alright, look at this. You see this little guy? Can you see him? So I opened up the slider door and came in, and he was sitting right here on this. And so I should have actually gotten the camera first. I tapped him and he jumped out, and he also peed. A whole string of pee came out in the process. I guess there's a good reason not to leave the van door open. Alright, we'll see how this fits. I'm gonna close it a little bit. A little too high. Alright, keep going. Alright, I'll try to hold the phone here and mark. So I've got the piece traced and to size. I'm gonna transfer it onto the piece of pallet wood. I'm a little concerned because this pallet wood, this piece actually broke when I was cutting a piece on the miter with the miter saw. So hopefully when we cut this with the jigsaw, we won't have any trouble. So the only bad thing with cardboard is that when you trace it, it has a little bit of give. So hopefully this is accurate. Alright, so see this guy right here? He's actually pretty smart. He screwed this pallet wood to the sawhorse there and there, which I think makes sense. So when he cuts now, it won't move all over the place. Did it break?
Blade number 23 for the project.
Oh, bummer. So now what do you do? Oh, shoot. We didn't account for this thing that sticks out. It's too thick. Oh, you see the problem? The pallet piece is just a little too thick that I can't get it up in there. So I think what we're gonna have to do is just take the second piece down, put the first piece up, and then put the second piece back. Still hits. So, should we just cut the gap wider? We sanded and we cut a little bit more out. Let's see. I think we nailed it. Because there's the line on the other piece. Oh, look at that. Oh, wait. No, it's a little too tight. Right. Ready to start the next door. So basically what we're doing now is just checking to make sure that the pieces fit okay in here against the seal. We don't want them rubbing against the seal. I digress. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Now back to it. Alright, so basically this is what we're working with. You can see the seal right over here, and then we've got the wood. And then we have the pieces of pallet wood. And so we have to find the good placement where they're not rubbing up against the seal, but it still looks nice. So during this whole process, we basically keep opening and closing the door and checking. And so far, seems to be working all right. So I'm just going to check the next piece here. So with this one, it is actually starting to hit the seal, so we're going to have to trim a little bit on the right side. Alright, so I gave Steve the piece, and he's actually going to trim it now.
Here's your piece you ordered.
Why, thank you. All right, let's see how it does. Another drop screw. That can be the theme of our channel. We'll change our channel name to Another Dropped Screw. So after a long drawn out battle, I have a template and I'm gonna transfer it onto the wood. All right, so we got the last piece. Let's see how it fits. So not bad. We just have to trim a little bit more where these little black marks are. All right, so we have finished putting all the wood up. What do you think, Steve? Do you like it?
I'm being told that I like it. No, I think it's turning out okay.
All right, so here it is. This is the door we just finished. And then there's the first door. So the next step is we're gonna have to take all these pieces down, paint them, and put them back up. And we finished just in the nick of time because I think it's starting to rain.
All right, so it's another day, and this is the progress we've made. We have marked where we want all the screws to go. I've drilled them in, I've countersunk them, so I believe Audra's plan is to putty over the screw heads a little bit and then give everything a coat of paint.
All right, so next I'm gonna show you what's going on with the doors from the inside and a little bit of the troubleshooting we've had to do. My lovely assistant is gonna demonstrate what happens when we close the doors. So there's the first door. And actually, it might be okay. What we've been finding is when we've been closing the doors, some of this has been hitting. I think the top part's okay. Now we've adjusted it some. But down here, it might be a little bit close. So did you notice when you close the doors, like it didn't actually seem to get hung up?
Yeah, I did take off the top 3 panels on the driver's side to put the spacer in the back.
Oh.
So I don't know if in the process of doing that, things just shifted ever so minutely that now they're not rubbing as much as they were before.
So it's going to take a little bit of adjustments when we put this back up, but maybe it's better than we thought because there had been a lot more rubbing when we opened and closed before.
I think worst case scenario, maybe just a little bit of sanding will give us the spacing that we need. Except
for, I know you don't like it seems like there's too big of a gap at the bottom compared to the top then. So maybe just adjust that a little bit when we, I don't know how we're going to adjust that. We've screwed it in now. You know what I mean? We probably should have.
New screw holes, I guess.
Yeah, maybe new screw holes. We'll see. So here's how it's looking as of now. So somewhat of a bigger gap at the bottom. And then it's smaller as you make your way up, as you can see here. And then Steve prefers it, the look of it, to have less of a gap. Did it feel like it was hung up at all that time when you opened it?
It's hard to say from the outside. The doors are heavy as they are.
All right.
I didn't feel any resistance.
Okay. You want to open this one? And I'll show them. So there was a piece, and then he added a spacer so we could screw in these pieces. Here, in this section, we already had a nailer, and he basically added a spacer in between so we could screw these pieces in. One of the biggest challenges with these doors and most anything in the van is the curves. So, especially with the Transit, I think, the doors have this major curve. So we had to accommodate that, and that's definitely been a challenge. But I think we've done a good job. I think it's looking good. So next step, we're gonna take the pieces down and number them as we go. And drop more screws. So I'm painting Kilz just on some of these pieces of wood. The ones that seem like maybe they're pressure treated, I don't know if it makes a difference, but I'm trying to block the pressure treated stuff from getting out to us. And the places that are going to be visible from the back of the van through the window, I'm painting also. So I've now primed most of the pieces, and then I went over them with that dark brown wash, and now I'm ready to do the finishing with the white paint. Cue the music.
Ich lieg auf meiner Wiese und ich schaue in den Himmel. Ich schließe meine Augen und ich lausche den Vögeln.
Just kidding. I'll find a different song. Okay, confession. I'm actually listening to an old 80s tape that I made, a mix from the radio. And it's also really hot in here and humid, but if I open the garage door, I'm gonna have all kinds of mosquitoes in here, so whew. All right, I think that's a wrap for tonight. So Steve's been really hard at work on finishing the doors, and I think they are looking great. I'm very excited about this. So he's been sanding down the edges of the doors so they close more nicely and so they look a little nicer inside, how the edges line up. And
we installed a hook.
Oh, and what's the hook for, we might ask?
The hook is for a little shower bag.
Ah, check that out.
This is a 3-gallon shower bag. So you fill it with water and then.
And we found out about this shower bag from Eula and Alex, our retired life. They have one also. We got it on Amazon. And I don't know how much we'll use it, but it's just nice to have just in case we need it. So I think things are progressing nicely and that it's looking great. I'm very happy with it. So since I was away and working on some other things, Steve added something else to the van project here.
Thought about adding something that would help give this a finished look, since we're only doing half the door. We can only do half the door because of our shelf here, so kind of looks like we just stopped. Looks unfinished. So I've been experimenting with some pieces that might help give it a more finished look. So this is my first attempt, just some square 1x1, I guess this might be, and it looks okay. And then Audra suggested using some leftover quarter round, so we tried that on this side, and I think that looks a lot better than the other option.
And we had the quarter round left over from our flooring project. Alright, we're on the home stretch now. I'm just touching up some of the final pieces that had some brown exposed or had been sanded, and then we'll be done. So we've made the finishing touches to the back doors. When we started the project, I know Steve wasn't very thrilled about it. So what do you think now that it's done?
I think it turned out pretty well. Again, one of those things where at what point is it a van, at which point is it kind of this living quarters? That's always up for debate. But as you will see, I think it turned out pretty nice. I think it'll make it look like a home.
Nice. All right, so are you guys ready for the big reveal? All right, so you ready? Here it is. So, I'm pretty happy with it. Actually, I'm very happy with it. This is my side of the bed over here, and I love that this is what I'm going to see now. I love that there's potential for adding some things like more hooks and maybe some more pretty stuff. And I like that we don't see the metal anymore. A couple of things to note. We usually would spackle in the screw holes and paint them, but we decided just to leave them open and exposed right now in case we need to take any of this off in the future. So I think it actually looks okay like that, so we might just leave it like that long term. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that Steve and I both put a lot of time into this project, but I especially appreciate the time that Steve put into it because I know he didn't really want to do this. I think his initial opinion was, it's just a van, leave it how it is, and there's hard curves to work with. But I think we've got a good relationship, and I got a good man, and he was willing to go the extra mile for me and to do all that for me. So I appreciate that. So anyway, that's it. We hope you enjoyed seeing it. Let us know what you think about it. We thank you for following along and watching this video. We thank our patrons for supporting us. We hope you'll tune in again next week as our adventures continue. And that's it for today. We'll see you next time.